All right, so at this point it's about a week later, and we finally got some parts in. Ended up ordering some new end links for the sway bar. We've got a box full of parts there, so couldn't get any OEM stuff, so we ended up having to go with the aftermarket. So we've got these new ones for the front. As you can see, they've got grease nipples on them, so you can actually grease them. And these are obviously the blown out stock ones. One thing to note is there's a lot more threads on these for whatever reason. I don't think it's really gonna matter, but I don't know why they made them extra long. But we'll just go ahead and put them in, and then that'll finish up the install on the front. We did order new top bushings also, or ball joints that is, for the top control arm. So I'm waiting on the special socket to show up because these are actually threaded in there. So I had to order a special Chrysler ball joint socket. So that should be here in a couple days. And then we can replace those. But I guess in the meantime, we'll at least be able to put the front end back together and set our right height. And then, like I say, we'll do the rear coilovers. And once the ball joint socket shows up, then we can do the top ball joints. So let's put these end links in. They should go in pretty smoothly. And then we can finish up the front end. All right, so to put these in, it's pretty straightforward. You just line them up. So obviously I've got the sway bar disconnected on both sides. That way you can freely move it. So I've kind of turned it so the grease nipples are accessible. And one thing about these aftermarket ones that the stock ones don't have is it's actually got a fitting for a T30 Torx socket up top. And then, so the way you tighten it is you just, you put your, you can put a wrench on the nut, which is a 15 mil, just like so. And then you put your socket with your, that was your T30 socket up top. So that way you can hold the end link in place while you tighten the nut. So that makes it pretty easy to actually install these. So let's go ahead and tighten these up, and then we'll do the other side, and we'll be good to go. All right, so the ball joint tool showed up. Well, I actually went and got one locally. I just didn't feel like sitting around and waiting for the one I ordered off Amazon to show up. This is a Moog part. It's actually pretty expensive. It's like $200. It's Moog T411. The one I ordered off Amazon was like 30 bucks for pretty much the same thing. But anyway, I tried yesterday to get the ball joint off just with a big crescent wrench. That didn't work. So that's why I went out and got this proper tool. So this one fits on the ball joint, and it's a 3/4 inch drive. So you need a 3/4 inch ratchet, which I have right there. I bought a new one. And then I'll probably need a breaker bar or a pipe of some sort. So I got that piece of 2x2 square there that I'll use. I've got a longer pipe also that I could try, or like a jack handle or something like that one. But anyway, I've got the ball joint separated from the hub. It's kind of hard to tell, but I used this ball joint separator thing here. Had to kind of open up the jaws a bit with a grinder just because they wouldn't fit over the ball joint. And then even then, I had to actually cut the rubber back and open it up. That was the only way I could get that tool in there. So anyway, let's get this ball joint out. Hopefully it comes out without too much trouble. I don't really want to have to heat up this control arm because it's aluminum. I don't want to weaken it. But I've heard of the threads getting stripped out and stuff, so I may end up having to press the thing out, but we'll see. Hopefully this socket works for me. All right, so I've got the ball joint out, and we've got kind of worst case scenario. It actually pulled the threads out. So I don't know, we'll see if I can thread the new one in, but worst case scenario is I'll have to pull the control arm out and then press the new one in somehow. I don't know if I'll have to kind of file down the threads on it or what, but in any event, we'll give it a try here. All right, well, I've got the new one in. It actually went in okay. It seemed to thread in for the most part. I guess I used whatever leftover threads there were, and I was able to tighten it down so it's not completely stripped out. And I guess the hope is once it's actually sitting in the knuckle, the nut will hold it down, so it shouldn't want to pop out. So now we'll get our new boot on there, which is this guy. I think it just kind of clips on there. It's got a little notch there. Not quite sure what that's for, but we'll get it on there and then tighten it back down. Then we'll just put our nut on from the bottom and tighten it down to pull it all the way through the knuckle. All right, so we've got the new ball joint in there. Got it threaded in, got the grease fitting on top. So we'll fill the boot up with grease after. And then we've got the new nut on there with the new cotter pin. So this side's all done. We can put the wheel back on and then move on to the other side. And then we'll do the rears. All right, so now we're on the passenger side. So far I've got the nut loosened. I took the cotter pin out, loosened the nut. Now I'm gonna cut this bushing, and then we can fit our ball joint separator in there and press it out of the knuckle, and then we'll use our tool to spin this one out. Hopefully this one doesn't damage the threads, but you never know. We'll see what happens. All right, so we've got this one out too. Same result, wasted the threads on it. So we'll gently thread the new one in. Hopefully it goes in just as smooth as the other side did, but keep this in mind if you're doing it. I don't know what the solution is. Maybe it is to warm it up, or I don't know, just to go slower. I did pre-soak these. I tried spraying penetrating lube in there yesterday, but I don't know if that helped at all. But anyway, let's get the new one in there and keep moving along. All right, so passenger side's done. Got the new one in there. New nut, cotter pin, grease fitting up top. So we can pump it full of grease and put the wheel back on. And then we'll move on to the back. But front end's all done now, so we've got a new top ball joint. We've got new sway bar end links. We'll clean all that grease off of them before we put the wheel on. And front end's done. Let's move on to the back.